Welcome to beautiful Crocotopia. Hello everybody, your boy Juan here. And yes, finally, the test run for the Selenopolis update has finally come out upon us. And I will try to be quick as possible, don't want to take too long here. Because unfortunately I've had a long shift today, so I might be a little bit late to the party. And I do have some things to do, but I don't want to do anything until I go over everything in this new gigantic update for the fall. So without further ado, right? We do have a lot of cover. I'm gonna try to get through them as fast as possible. Be nice and simple. They're not gonna overcomplicate anything. And without further ado, let's get started. Okay, first things first. So you see me here in the world of Crocotopia, and that is because finally Crocotopia has been updated. So I'm going to walk around Crocotopia as I'm talking about the rest of the patch notes, and of course head over to the new area of Selenopolis. So as you see here, we are in the Pyramid Cave, the fire area of Crocotopia. Just going to walk around a little bit, take a look of the updated graphics. Here I don't get too close here, but here are the updated mobs, the updated charmed slaves, and they do look more charming, just say that. And here are the updated crocs. They look really cool. There's a lot of details. You can almost like see like their scales, whatever. They look more scaly because of the huge texture update. So yeah, the entire one has been textured. And you look at those floors. Someone took one of those like smoothing machines. I don't know what's it called, but it's like those things where you like smooth out like surfaces and stuff. This is what they took, bro. Like those slaves have been busy, bro. They've been busy. They've been busy working, making Crocotopia very smooth. It's like very almost shiny smooth. And the sand, yes, the sand has been updated as well. The wall, of course, the sand. So the sand in Crocotopia now more matches like the sand of later sand worlds, like Mirage. And of course, these Cyclops dudes. I mean, they've been updated for a while. Because these are Wizard City mobs, basically being here. So, have a look at the beautiful, revamped, Crocotopia. The whole world's got updates, it's not just any areas. Look at the Oasis, right? The Oasis actually looks like an oasis. A bunch of palm trees surrounding the actual pool. It's not like a puddle, it looks like an actual pool with some vegetation. To signify that this is an oasis. Here's the pyramids updated, the tornado, the famous... Oh, I just disintegrated. Did you see how that tornado disintegrates? So they have updated that as well. They've added some new stuff. Which can you still walk through them? Oh, you can. They fixed it. You were able to walk through everything before. Yeah, they fixed it. They fixed it. So, a little bit earlier, like test run came out a couple of days before, but it was very buggy. They had to take it down, and one of the things you could have done is you could have walked through that. That was actually very funny. But yeah, they have added this pyramid, which wasn't even there before. I don't think even this area is even accessible currently in Live Roam, and it is not possible. So I don't think you can even get there at all. But yeah, and here's the sun, like the updated sun in the sky. Oh, what's that in the background? What's that in the background? They've even updated the boat ride to the Crocosphinx, right? So your wizard now sits down. It's kind of weird since your wizard goes through the floor. They need to fix that. This looks weird. Why am I going through the floor? But yeah, they've even added like a sitting animation for the... Instead of you just standing on your mount, they actually added the animation like they have with a bunch of all the other like rideable items in the game. This is actually one of the first and older ones. I wonder if they'll do that to the Marleybone carts in Marleybone as well, like those train balloons things. There's a beautiful Crocosphinx. So it's going to and look. So besides the Crocotopia graphical update, there's also has been some spell changes. So first of all, Infection and Tri-Infection has been changed from 50% healing debuff into a 65, which is okay. It's nothing special. And Dr. Von also gives said infection, so it's a 65. So in all the infections are 65, basically. They just did it just to do it, I guess. Maybe to make up for the changes to the next spell, which unfortunately is Triton. And yeah, unfortunately Triton is going to get the Stormzilla treatment and basically become Stormblade. So the best anti-heal in the game, one of the most important counters in the game, because healing is very broken in this game, has unfortunately become Stormblades. But we will get a new alternative, which I'll get to in a bit. At least, oh, whoops. Yeah, there is an alternative. Drop Bear has had its damage over time portion of the hit get changed from Myth to Fire. Honestly, bro, thank God, bro. I am so happy, at least with... I'm so happy that Drop Bear is getting nerfed. As an Ice main and certified Myth hater, this does make me happy. I absolutely despise Drop Bear. I think that spell is stupid. It is broken. It is absolutely front-loaded as hell. It hits like an absolute truck through shields. The damage over times is not even... It's only a 3-round single dot, which doesn't justify even punishing it. You can't even, like, shield and then bait them to Drop Bear to counter it. Like, if you're, like, a Life Wizard. Like, even using a Camp Bandit isn't worth it on this card. So it gets every benefit without having many weaknesses. Like, the damage over time isn't significant enough to be punished. But before, it was significant enough to constantly deal damage to you and basically stun lock you from shielding while the Drop Bear is on you. So now with a Drop Bear, yes, it's still going to hit like a truck, but because the damage over time is a fire dot, one, that means it will overall do less damage because all the myth buffs that they'll usually be hit with is not going to apply. So you can, for example, you can triple shield against a myth wizard without getting completely punished, because the fire dot doesn't matter as much as the myth dot. It's not going to be as buffed. It will only have one single buff from the Sunblade, but that's it. Like, when it comes to Mythblade TCs, and Reliquary, like, that's not going to buff the dot anymore. So, if you triple shield and get Drop Bear, you're not going to end up taking, like, 400 or 500 damage around anymore. So, it is a little... And, if they do Drop Bear, you can just set shield again, which, that means they'll be forced to Drop Bear again. If you want to bait out like a bad Drop Bear, like if they have a weakness or you have a brace or whatever, and you want to shield and then they Drop Bear you, right? It will be a bad Drop Bear. And at which point you can just set shield again and be at a huge advantage, because the damage will not be relevant anymore. And there's not going to be a myth dot that automatically removes your set shields every turn. It might seem small, but that little change is very, very big. It is significant. And of course, the reason why they did that is because it doesn't make sense, because it's supposed to be myth using some, fire identity, I guess, because only fire gets to clear shields for dots. The School Pip is what allows Drop Bear to work like the way it currently does. And not to mention that the life spell Star Spawn works similar with Drop Bear. It clears traps for a fire dot, right? And obviously, life also duels into fire. So if Star Spawn is a fire damage over time, then why is Drop Bear a myth damage over time? Well, we don't know, but the question has been answered. It won't be anymore. So now, it's a fire dot like it's supposed to be from the wheel perspective, just like Star Spawn. So next up, we have a bit of a change to the balance spell, Riding the Scales, and Eye of Vigilance. And yes, as you can see from the screenshot here, I'm going to put it on the screen, there are now shadow spells. That is correct. So they will no longer be balance spells. There will now be a shadow spell that costs a shadow pip. It works exactly the same. The functionality is exactly the same. It just costs a shadow pip instead of 3 pips. Because they want to change balance's identity from removing to echoing. They want to move away from balance's identity of removing things and more into the echo identity. They like the echo and swap identity far more than just destroy and everything. So, how do you ask? Okay, so if balance is not going to destroy effects anymore, and now that Eye of Vigilance and Riding the Scales are now shadow spells, will that school get a replacement? And the answer is yes. So what you see here are 2 brand new spells, Blade and Trap Delusion. So what this spell will do As if you can't notice the effect, I'll be very quickly. So, Blade Dilution will remove up to 4 blades and put 15 blades on the opponent. Yes, it's on the opponent, not on yourself. You don't get to take those blades. Right? And Trap Dilution will do the same thing. It will remove 4 traps from yourself and put 20% universal traps on yourself. Now, why would anyone want to use these spells, right? You're not even doing anything, right? You're just removing your opponent's blades and just giving them blades back. Now, the answer is, of course, that this spell is meant to punish people that blade stack a lot without gambiting them. So, for example, the most famous school that does this is Myth, right? Myth is one of the top blading schools in the game in PvP, even though on the wheel, they're not supposed to be a blading school at all. But because they can hit through debuffs, they're amazing with blades, right? Because very comes yeah, Myth Blade, then they'll Sunblade, and then they will Myth Blade TC, Reliquary, and then you can't debuff it because you can't shield or weakness. It's a very common thing. Now, what Blade and Trap Dilution will allow for you to do, and because it's a 4 times clear, it's way better than Feeble, because if the Myth Wizard single blades into the Sunblade, Blade Dilution will remove both of them. The Myth Wizard will lose both buffs for a measly 15 buff. That's not going to matter that much. Again, they can still technically gambit them, but as we know, Myth Wizards are not gambiting blades. It's not their school identity, right? It's not in the Rochambeau wheel. They're not, but they blade anyways because they're so good with the blades. That is the purpose of this card, essentially. It's supposed to, like, leverage your opponent's hanging effects without removing them. And of course, the purpose of that is so you can not take double, triple, quad buffed giga hits. It's very good against PvE strats. And you can still echo the blades if you so wish to do so. If you want to use that dumb Spectral Blast to echo their blades for some useless Pierce Blades, and so be it. Or want to use Oni Shadow, you still can, and that is like the purpose of it. So, and same thing with the Trap Dilution, though it's not going to be as good because they don't get like trap stacking that easily, but people end up trapping you a lot of different traps. You can use Trap Dilution to only have them basically one trap. So they'll never have that many buffs on a hit, but they can still leverage them for gambits. That is like the weakness of this card. That's why it's a 1 pip 4 blade clear, which this is because all the buffs will still remain on your opponent, which is why it's not considered overvalued. It's not considered overpowered. Remember, the blades will go to the opponent, and the traps will go on you. Otherwise, they will just be overpowered. It has to be like this, because removing 4 buffs for 1 pip, otherwise would be too overpowered. And its best application is, of course, to stop Myth Wizards from Myth Blading into the Sunblade. They just lose tempo off of that. Or if anyone wants to single trap into the TC trap, etc., etc. And here is the new area of Selenopolis. So I'll talk about Selenopolis. That's huge. So I do want to keep things simple with the spell. Go with the spell changes first. So that is with the balance stuff. And speaking of balance spells, balance is getting some brand new paths and some changes to some of its spells. Like Scarab is getting a brand new path C, which swaps a weakness over for damage. So instead of the one that basically steals your blade, it will push a weakness in reality. And in my opinion, honestly, I don't like it. I think it's busted. Because weakness, as you know, in PvP, it's one of the most commonly used cards in the game. It's a universal debuff. Now, just any sucker can just pack the Scarab inside deck, and then they'll have the power to push a weakness for 1 pip. That's a ton of value. Like, I do not like that. I think that is very busted. Just because of how it will push weaknesses on people. I'm really not a fan of the Scarab at all. I'm not a fan of it. Just because people can use it to just push weaknesses back and forth and play basically ping pong with weaknesses. I'm not a fan of ping pong spells and mechanics, and unfortunately, This Scarab offers that. It offers more ping pong gameplay, which I do not like. I do not like that at all. Technically, oh, it's so cool, Balance can do more things, leveraging, and in reality, that was just going to be ping pong simulator. So now you have the power to push a weakness for 1 pip, because that's what this spell is going to be used for realistically. It's just a push weakness for 1 pip. Which is a bit too much. I think that spell should at least cost 2 pips. Like, the amount of value of pushing a weakness is, it cannot be understated. It cannot be understated. I think that it should at least cost 2 pips. But that is just my opinion, though. But, yeah, so you'll have the power to push a weakness, basically, with Scarab now. Scorpion is also getting a change. And it's got a Path C. And, first of all, oh, wait, look at the Path B. Oh, that was a 2-pip. I just noticed that right now. So, Scorpion Path B, the one that swaps his shield, is getting its pip cost reduced from 2 to 1. And it will do less damage. Again, it says a Steel Ward, essentially, with a little bit of damage. Now, that one doesn't matter as much because Steel Ward exists, and Steel Ward isn't that good. Like stealing shields is not as powerful as pushing weaknesses, so I don't mind the Scorpion that one that much. And it is only 1 pip, so it does less damage. So the ping pong nature of balance mirrors that is happening right now, as you know, if you play balance right now, it's not uncommon for balances to carry a whole row of Scorpions, 7, 8, 9, 10 Scorpions, and their sideboard just to spam against mirrors and just swapping tower shields back and forth. And that is very obnoxious gameplay. But because it's a 1-pip spell, it does less damage and it's less effective. You're better off just tower shielding over it or just hitting into it. The damage is too minuscule for it to matter anymore. Although the fact that bouncers can pip conserve this while swapping shields can be still obnoxious, but at least the damage is no longer there. And the Path C will do damage first, obviously as it should, and then it will swap over a trap. So you can use this to push a trap if you want, which is a pretty cool effect. I don't think this one is broken. I think this one is fine. It's a nice effect. Though balance does get a better spell than this. So this is a very good effect, but I would not recommend this over the next spell. Please tell me I have it. Okay, dude. And the next spell is Locust Swarm. Look at that bottom path. So yes, the trap swap. Ugh. The trap swap with Locust Swarm is gone. They removed it. Now what it does instead is that it will echo, right? As I told you, I want to go ahead and push with the echoes a little bit more. Not exactly, it's still a swapping school, obviously, but now they make it echo a trap. And get this, it's a 40% universal trap on the opponent if you have a trap. That is no joke. Okay, that is no joke. That's a very powerful anti-trap move for any school, not just balance. It's a solid card to carry on any school. Like if you're against a myth, right, and they trap you, you can use a Locust Swarm and get an even better trap, so you can keep up with them. You can keep up with their buffs if you want. That is very solid and buff your own hit. It's a very solid trap counter, which I think is better than the trap counter. Yes, it's not gonna push it over to the opponent, but this one, instead of them pushing it over, which will just make them put more traps on you anyways and make you waste your pips, it will echo their trap, so whatever they're threatening, you can threaten right back. You can retaliate right back. And you can get up to 2 of them, so if they put a regular trap and a TC trap, you can use this and get 2 hits of 40% universal buff. So I think this card can be used on any school, not just balances. But of course, balance, will be the better school to use it. And they upped the damage because it's no longer chromatic damage. It will now do balance damage. So this will be a solid balance hit as well. It does a little more than a wand. So in a PvP, well, I can expect this to do like 600-700 damage, which is pretty solid. And give yourself a trap. Sounds very good to me. I do enjoy this Locust Swarm change. And now here is the final balance specific change. And I'm not a fan of it. But yeah, here it is. You can look at it for yourself. Gearhead. Oh, but it doesn't swap 2 anymore, right? Look at that. It got a damage increase. That spell does 100 more damage. Listen, Gearhead already hits like a truck for its utility. It hits so hard for its utility. That makes it... That just gives that card so much extra value that it doesn't need. It's so much value. It doesn't need to have it. Doesn't need to have it at all. And it is unfortunately confirmed as both versions will be available in treasure card form. So what that means is that the Balance Wizard can now carry a basically enchanted version of Gearhead in main deck, and then carry another one in the sideboard, and it'll do more damage. So they can still a heal and push a dot. Like, look at these two spells. Can you guys tell me how this is okay? They're really undervaluing the swap mechanic. So, oh, it's a swap you can only do it once, and you can steal your own dot. They are really undervaluing this effect. They truly are. Yes, it's technically not as powerful as a push, but when it comes to the games, how it's actually practically applied in a realistic scenario, it's basically a push. So, yeah, this is another L, unfortunately. It is a complete L. It is unfortunate. So balances will hit a lot harder with Gearhead now, which they should not have. And, I mean, not just them, but any school, they'll have the power to push a weakness. But at least I do like the Scorpion and the Locust Swarm change. I do not like the Weakness Path Locust Swarm, and I do not like the Gearhead changes. But Scorpion and Locust Swarm is pretty solid. So no more complaints there. Okay, next up, the lore spells. So a couple of AoE lore spells have gotten a select target path. So they got a new path, which is usable in advanced combat, in PvP, where they work just like the Wallaroo spells and the 7-pip spells, where basically it's a select target, right? Because standard AoEs are too broken, according to the devs. You can't have that. You have to lose damage per target. That's how it is. So I don't know why it's like this, but that's how they've been going at it. That ship's already sailed, so these lore spells are just following the trend, essentially. There's nothing really all that special. No, that's pretty cool though. They're usable in advance. You can use that in PvP or in raids, or maybe some challenge mode strats. I don't know. I don't really do challenge modes that much or at all, actually, except like one. Do you really use AoEs? Would you use these in challenge mode, for example? I don't know. But it's nice to have, though. It's good to have. So I think they're all good changes, though. I'm glad that they exist. I'm glad, that their respective schools have it. So you can pack Ratatosker Spin, Ship of Fools, Deer Knight, Reindeer Knight, and Advanced now. Pretty cool. Again, they work exactly like the 7-pip AoEs and the Wallaroo AoEs. They're select target. So nothing too much going on there. But the next one is huge, right? Winter Moon, right? Since they banned stuns from advanced combat, the entire spell of Winter Moon just got completely banned because of its utility that it gives, right? Winter Moon is a spell that stuns, and as you know, stuns are now banned. So that spell basically became completely unusable, and that is unfair. And it is. But they're giving Winter Moon a brand new bottom path, and as you can see here, it is goated. It's just pure damage, and that is what Ice needed. What else can you ask for? Ice already has some decent low pip utilities like Ice Elemental and Golem, but they don't really have that powerful of hits, especially when it comes after you go after 4 pips, because Ice's spells above 4 pips are very weak. As they're so focused on utility, they're just so undervalued in terms of damage. Well, the Winter Moon now fills a big gap in Ice's library, and now they have a spell that can hit very hard. It does 685 damage. That is basically a tier 1 Ninja Pigs, but it's an Ice spell. So it's basically Ice Ninja Pigs. Ice has a Ninja Pigs. So when it comes to trading 6-pip hits, Ice will be one of the top schools now, right alongside Myth. And that is a big buff to Ice that it desperately needed, because again, that school has very much been underperforming in PvP because its lackluster stats, its inability to deal any actual damage, and its library gets completely destroyed and countered very easily. It's very hard to set up shields on an Ice because how insanely broken the counters are. And an Ice, basically, until this update has basically becomes a one-trick pony, where if your opponent carries shield counters, you just lose. Because you can't set up any shield gambits. You can't leverage your shields because the counters are so good. And everybody carries shield counters. Like, Ice doesn't have that much going for it outside of its shield identity. Except for Ice Elemental, which was a spell that came out in the last update. And before Ice Elemental, then you were completely screwed. If you couldn't shield, you were completely screwed. So you're noticing this pattern, right? They give Ice a hidden weakness, which covers Ice's identity and allows you to pivot a brand new identity if you couldn't shield. So Ice Elemental was extremely good against fire, and still is extremely good against fires. It made the fire matchup very much winnable because you could not shield at all. In fact, you'll get punished with more dots if you shield, and then they'll start E-feeding you and then killing you. But thanks to at least old Zilla, when it was Chromatic Blades, and Ice Elemental, it made the fire matchup very, very much playable for the Ice, because you can just pivot to a brand new identity. And now it's the same thing with Wintermoon. Now, obviously, it's not an identity in terms of effects, but rather an identity of just pure burst. So that is a very nice spell in Ice's arsenal. It will diversify Ice gameplay, so you can either get a hidden shield, a hidden weakness, or just go for straight up pure damage. It will diversify an Ice's deck setup a little bit more. And they won't have to carry Colossus TCs anymore. And don't worry, they'll have plenty of room for Wintermoon in their main decks as I go over some other spell changes in a bit. They'll have some extra room. Let's just say that. They'll have room. So that is it with the lore spells. Alrighty, up next, we have brand new auras. Yes, that is right. We have brand new auras. So we have 5 brand new auras: Pathogen, Starfall, Attenuive, Cosmic Charge, and Stabilize. And now these spells, they're insane. Alright, these spells are insane. They're brand new. So first of all, let's talk about the basic. Let's talk about Cosmic Charge and Stabilize first, because they're simpler to talk. They're simpler to talk. So Stabilize is basically just an upgraded Brace. It's a minus 25 incoming damage spell. So it says Brace 2.0. And holy crap, that's a powerful aura. That is huge. Now, of course, it's an aura that every school can use, but of course, Ice benefits the most. Not only because they're the highest resist school, so an aura that increases your resist benefits the highest resist school, but also Ice is an aura counter school. So they'll be able to abuse this aura far better than anyone else, which is amazing. And yes, better than anyone else. That includes balance. Spoiler alert, that includes balance. So at 25 Brace, as an Ice main and a Death secondary player, I'm here for it. Although as a Territory Storm player and you know, I guess it's not so good for you. So if you're Liam, you hate Stabilize. If you're me, you love Stabilize. So it really depends. So yeah, that might be a hot take, cause it is a hot take. Cause Stabilize, to me, I'm talking through it through my Ice main lens and my Death main lens. Yeah, I love it. As if I were a Storm main though, I would just uninstall the game here. Because if someone stabilizes against you, you can gladly, you can hold your L. Yeah, thank you. You can hold that minus 16. So, basically you can beat Storms with your eyes closed. Essentially now. If you're a Storm Wizard and you get an Ice, an already unwinnable matchup, do yourself a favor and flee. It's like fighting a life as an Ice at that point. So yeah, Cosmic Charge. This aura gives 20 Universal Pierce. That's it. No accuracy. For some reason. And what I think is more dumb is the fact that it costs 1 pip. Yes, the first aura that costs a pip. It's the first aura in the game that costs a pip. Well, it's tied with some other auras. I mean, there are a bunch of other auras that also cost a pip, but I'm going to get through that one a little bit faster. Why does it cost 1 pip for 20 Universal Pierce? And where's the accuracy? Now, obviously, it doesn't have accuracy because it will be universal accuracy, and King's Out hates universal accuracy. I don't agree with it, though. I do understand why it doesn't have universal accuracy, because they hate universal accuracy. They want you to dual school and not use 7 schools. Because the meta right now is to have as high universal accuracy as possible and use every single counter that you can possibly use, and KI hates that. And they don't want to encourage that with universal accuracy on an aura. They don't want to do that anymore. So I know why. Do I agree with it? No. Because that just makes you get completely cocked by counter matchups if there's nothing you can do about it. If you're Storm running Death, right, a Storm Death, and then you get an Ice Myth, you lost. You can't pivot, essentially, because you're not going to have the accuracy for it, because they don't want you to have the accuracy for it. But I do digress, so that is KI's choice. So it's a 20 Pierce Aura, just like old Infab, minus the accuracy, but it does cost a pip. I think it's stupid. I do not want it cost a pip. It should be a 0 pip card. But whatever, I guess it's there now. It's a new aura, looks cool. Whoa, new Pierce Aura, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. But here's the main kicker, though. These two auras, yeah, they're nice auras, but they're not all that special. It's been in the game before. Stabilize is just an upgraded brace. Cosmic Charge is just a 1 pip infal. It's not that special. The next 3 auras, though, are special because they're brand new. These auras are called negative auras. As you can see, the spooky dark purple glow that they have instead of the normal yellow one, because these are negative auras. These auras are auras that you place on the enemy. You'll click on the aura and then you will click on the enemy and place the aura on them. So the first one is called Pathogen, I think. Yeah, Pathogen. It's a minus 50 outgoing aura on the opponent. They're still pretty simple how they work. You just click on your opponent, it'll have an reduced outgoing. And the next one's called Starfall, which is a weakness negative aura. So you click the aura, you click on the opponent, and they will have minus 15 damage for 4 rounds. And the last one's called Attenuate. If you click on the opponent, they'll take 20% incoming damage, which is amazing for overtime strats. So it's like a trap aura, essentially. But because it's an aura, though, it doesn't work like traps. So again, dots will be amazing with this aura. And what do I think of the negative auras? In terms of the auras themselves, I'm happy. I'm glad they exist. They add variety to the game. They add a new way to use the astro magic stuff, right? You don't just have auras for yourself, but auras for the opponent. It's a second type of aura. It makes the game more diverse in terms of gameplay. Right? You're making the astral schools and you're expanding upon them greatly. I cannot wait for them to rework the moon and sun schools, because these schools need help. These schools need help desperately. But that is for another update, though. This is the star schools' time to shine. So these new negative auras are the first negative auras in the game. At least that are unconditional. Now, Bunyip doesn't count. Yeah, Bunyip basically drops a Pathogen. So Pathogen's basically a Bunyip aura. And of course, you have a weakness and a damage increasing aura on the opponent. So, if you want to maximize your damage through auras, you can use your school aura first, and then use Attenuate, or it doesn't matter which one you use. So you can use Attenuate and your school damage aura, and then you have a double buffed hit with just auras, right? For 4 rounds, and there's 0 pip setups. So there's some crazy things you can do with these auras. Now, one word of caution. These auras are very controversial because of how they interact with each other. Right now, at least in Test Realm, they are said to, unfortunately, replace positive auras. And positive auras replace negative auras. So they work like bubble wars, but with auras. If someone negative auras you positive aura back. And if you negative aura someone, they can positive aura back for 0 pips. So we'll remove your aura and replace it with their aura for 0 pips. Which, as bad as that sounds, it is real, unfortunately. It is real. That is a garbage, absolute garbage mechanic. And everyone is saying it. Everybody. Even Sauce. Like, Sauce, Cass, me, everybody. Discord, Galaxy Gamer, everybody, every single person, even the dumb people are pointing out how crazy it is, because it's a stupid ass mechanic. Why does every school get a free aura pop for 0 pips? Why do they get to have that? It's a bad mechanic, right? If you want to counter an aura, you should have to clear it. Clear the aura. You should not just replace it with a negative aura and you're good to go. Clear it. Dual school, right? You want us to dual school? Yeah, dual school. Don't you dare take away my school's identity of aura removal and just give it to everybody because of a garbage mechanic. Don't you dare. If you want to pop auras, get this. Dual school ice. Learn what ice is. Bow down to ice. Bow down to the best school. Be an ice. How, right? Oh well, it's a weakness, right? You can't, if you're a school that can't deal with auras, then you should not have a spell that allows you to deal with auras for free. You should have to dual school and pivot, like what the devs want you to do. If you're a myth wizard, right? You're weak to auras. Stabilize will shit on you. Any of the negative auras will shit on you. As they should, because you are weak to auras. You are a sun school, essentially. You get countered by star. You are weak to auras. You should not be able to counter my auras with your own aura for 0 pips on any school that, even the ones that are weak to auras. So I pray to the Wiz gods that they do not release this mechanic. We do not need another bubble style aura fight through auras. We do not need to have that. That is garbage. Like, bubble wars are already terrible. Bubbles suck in this game. I am wearing the biggest pon-pons in the world to see their downfall. Every day I raise my fists up in the air in gigantic pon-pons and mini skirts. I don't care. I want their downfall. I want to see and watch their bubbles downfall from the game. Bubble wars are stupid. Bubbles are stupid. I want them banned. I don't want them expanded upon with auras. So please, for the love of Wiz, please do not add this mechanic. Please just let the aura stack. Let the aura stack. I beg you, do not let positive auras replace negative auras. And do not let negative auras replace positive auras. We do not need Bubble Wars 2.0. We don't need that. We don't need it. Alright, sorry about that rant. Okay, moving on. Okay, next up we have the Avalon spells. So you guys remember Avalon? Do you guys remember the utility spells that you get from Avalon? No? You don't remember? Oh, well, let me show you the cards. Alright? Shift. Banned.
Know your fucking place, trash.
Shift is now... Oh, it's from Avalon. Yes, Shift is from Avalon, if you didn't know. But yeah, Shift is now PvP banned. Honestly, good riddance. Good riddance, bro. That school already has everything, bro. Myth has absolutely everything. With the drop air change and Shift banned, I'm glad. It deserves to get bombed. I'm glad Myth is getting gutted in some ways. With Trap Delusion and Blade Delusion, Fire Dot Drop Air, and now a Shift ban, sign me up, bro. I could not be happier to see this horseshit school get gutted. I could not be any happier. But it's not only getting banned, but it's getting a brand new spell in its replacement. So yes, the devs are no longer just banning everything. They're actually listening to the players. Why just ban everything instead of just replacing them? And finally they're doing it this update. So Myth gets a brand new spell called... I don't know, it's called this. I'll put it up on the screen. You can read it. Maybe I'll do a voiceover and editing. No. I forgot what's it called. I don't care. So this spell, it will remove 3 weaknesses for 2 pips. That's all it does. It's like an enfeeble, but for weaknesses. That exists. That is a main deck card only, though. Thank God it's not a TC, because that is stupid. Like, removing 3 weaknesses is not the same as... Removing 3 weaknesses is not the same as removing 3 blades. Weaknesses are a more valuable utility. So, I think clearing weaknesses should be a little more expensive. It is a more valuable utility. It is a defensive utility instead of an offensive utility, and that should not be treated the same. I think countering defense should be a little more expensive than countering damage, because damage is like accelerates the game, no, makes you lose, versus you know what I mean. I don't know. It's pretty good. I'm glad it's not available in the TC, so it's just this. I'm just gonna pack this, no, because you still have your dumb Stone Colossus. A giant 600 hit through with debuffs. Unfortunately, it's going to be just as front-loaded as ever, unfortunately. It's going to hit like an absolute truck for no reason. And there you go. So you're not going to really pack this, but it exists. Cool. So here's your shift replacement spell to be a much more real identity card. And speaking of real identity card, Snowdrift is also on the chopping block. Oh, the pit. Oh, the pain. Oh, they... No, look at this. Ah, oh, no. How could they do this? How could they do this to my Snowdrift? How am I supposed to do it with Life Wizards now? Well, for the same reason why Shift is getting banned, Snowdrift is getting banned too, because technically there's nothing wrong with the spell itself. It's just that the spell is exclusive to a school that has an effect that is not supposed to be had on said school. So Snowdrift is an ice-only spell and has an effect that ice shouldn't have on the wheel. So instead, they got a brand new spell in its place called... What's the ice... This thing. No, I think I remember the name. Did I not forget? Forget it. It's this. There's a new spell. So this spell is basically a TC Enfeeble in main deck for ice. That's all it is. It's just Enfeeble. Nothing else to see. Although, watch out, the Enfeeble TC is banned, but can be converted into the new ice spell in TC. So do watch out for that. If you have old Enfeeble treasure cards, convert them to the new ice spell in treasure card form. These will exist in treasure cards. I do not know exactly where yet, but just keep an eye out for that. But in terms of for ice and the main deck card, no, we're not going to pack this. We have Wyvern. It's good enough. But the next two Avalon spells that are getting banned, can you guess? They're two other Avalon spells. And I've waited this day for 12 fucking years. 12 years I've waited for this day. Even my old childhood self was pounding his keyboard away every time I got hit with these cards. Mana Burn and Supernova are finally banned from PvP. Thank God. Thank God they're banned. Thank God. I could not be any happier. I truly could not be any happier that they're gone. I hate these spells. Everyone hates these spells. I've hated these spells ever since they came out. A terrible mistake for them to have ever existed. Right next to Juju and Guardian Spirit. Right next to them. They can burn in the ash heap of Wizard101 history. A huge blunder that took 12 years to fix. But yes, it is real. So Balance Wizards will no longer Mana Burn. And they will no longer Supernova. You can Aura against them without taking a 200 damage per pip spell to the face. I know. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. But, just like Snowdrift and Shift, Mana Burn and Supernova are also getting their own replacement. And here they are. So the one on the left is gonna replace Supernova. As you can see, the fact that it echoes an aura. As it echoes it, it doesn't destroy it. And its damage is much more reasonable. And here's the spell on the right. So yes, you can sit there and laugh at it all you want. As you should, because they're ass. They deserve to be ass. That school has dominated the game for far too long. I could not be any happier to see this horseshit school get gutted. And their replacement spells are a complete joke. As they should be. They don't deserve anything. They don't deserve to feel good. Balances and balanced players, they don't deserve to feel good at all. This should feel ashamed. This should feel miserable for what they've done to this game for so long. How much it ruined the queue. Feel ashamed that their rank that they have is undeserved and illegitimate. They just abused a broken school that has been broken for too long. And yeah, there's not much. They were quick to nerf Death when it was broken, but it took them 12 years to ban Mana Burn and Supernova. How crazy is that? But you know what, bro? They did it. At least they did it. So yeah, how you can use that 5-pip garbage spell. Yeah, have fun, bouncers. Yeah, you can use that 5-pip spell against me. You can use it. Use that 470 hit and take your L. Sounds good to me, bro. Okay, so that wraps up the Avalon spell change section.